Stop. You haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now, let's go. My name is Ronald. People close to me call me Ron. I'm 55, an Atlanta-based financial consultant with a track record of closing profitable deals for mid-sized tech firms. Married to Clarissa for 18 years, father to grown twins living out of state. Our quiet suburban home sits behind a tall oak that's older than anyone on our street. I run every morning, 5 miles, no excuses, and keep spreadsheets detailing groceries and monthly bills because I prefer organization. Some call me obsessive, but I prefer precise. Monday morning, I marched into my home office at dawn, coffee in hand, ready to prepare for a video call with prospective clients. Sunlight pooled through the blinds, revealing stacks of neatly labeled binders on my desk. Tax documents, investment proposals, household budgets. Everything remained orderly. An old wedding photo stood in a frame near my keyboard. Clarissa and I, smiling wide. She wore a shimmering dress, and I wore that cliché tuxedo, lost in dreams of an everlasting union. 18 years can change a man's perspective, though. Our house rarely produced chaos. I thrived in routine, and Clarissa never opposed that preference. She taught at an elementary school a few miles away. Calm, polite, efficient. She typed perfect lesson plans and arranged a dazzling classroom environment. Our neighbors believed we set a neighborhood standard. Ron and Clarissa, the unstoppable duo. We attended community events, hosted barbecues, and participated in homeowner association meetings. My colleagues teased me about my model marriage. Perhaps I once treasured that narrative. Lately, a strange tension tinted our daily life. Clarissa often left coffee mugs unwashed in the sink. That slight slip from her usual cleanliness raised eyebrows in my mind. Her phone beeped more frequently. Whenever I glanced her way, she turned the screen downward. "A friend from work," she said. "We're swapping lesson tips." I wanted to trust her. I forced a grin, gulped my coffee, and typed on my laptop. But a tiny itch of doubt flared. Something in her eyes shifted. Certain nights, she answered calls in hushed tones. Next morning, she claimed the conversation involved a coworker with personal problems. On Thursday evening, Clarissa mentioned a weekend getaway with girlfriends. Downtime, she said. A few days with them to relax, shop, and watch silly movies. Her voice carried a casual pitch. She avoided eye contact. I sat at the kitchen table, analyzing stock market data, and took a moment to gauge her posture. She smoothed her ponytail, stepped over piles of mail, and rummaged in the pantry for a snack. I nodded, uninterested in a conflict. "Sounds good," I replied. Clarissa flashed a polite grin, rummaged for chips, and drifted into the living room. Something about the timing felt suspicious, though. The request arrived out of nowhere, with no prior mention. I considered letting it slide. 18 years taught me to pick battles carefully. Meanwhile, a certain tension brewed inside. I scrolled through mental records of our interactions over the past few weeks. Late-night text messages, a series of hushed phone calls, unexplained receipts for clothes or fancy lingerie. My mind drummed with questions I didn't want to address. She departed Friday afternoon. I helped load her luggage into the trunk. She wore fresh lipstick, unusual for someone planning a chill weekend. Her gaze darted around, as though scanning for onlookers. "I'll be home Sunday," she said. A swift kiss on my cheek. I stepped aside, watched her drive away. A numb sensation poked my chest. A memory from our wedding day popped in my head, her gloved hand entwined with mine, bright eyes brimming with promise. I strolled indoors, methodical as ever, and headed for our bedroom. I zipped open the top drawer of her dresser to put away laundry. Something glinted in the corner. Clarissa's wedding ring. She never removed it. My heart pounded. Muscles tensed. No ring on her finger. That small hunk of metal, resting next to a lacy bra I had never seen in my life. I paced to the living room, noticing a stillness in the air. A few scattered receipts on a coffee table, wine purchases from a local shop. Nothing suspicious on the surface. I flicked on the TV, sank into the couch, tried to focus on cable news. Couldn't. My mind replayed the ring discovery. Why would she travel without it? Morning came without an ounce of rest. Saturday's sunrise crawled over the fence. I stared through the window. A faint breeze stirred the leaves, swirling them around my old Honda sedan. I brewed coffee, sipped in silence, and fiddled with my phone. My hands twitched. A few colleagues had emailed me, wanting to schedule a meeting on Monday. My mother called, leaving a voicemail about next month's family reunion. Meanwhile, I imagined Clarissa's girls' weekend. Something felt off. I rummaged through my desk drawer in the office. A small black device emerged, a discreet camera, initially purchased out of curiosity, to guard our house if intruders roamed while we vacationed. I stroked the edges, considering a possibility I once deemed unthinkable. I marched from room to room, deciding on vantage points. My logic overcame any hesitation. If she carried on with secret lovers while I worked, I deserved proof. I installed one near a bookshelf in the living room, behind decorative figurines, another near the bedroom lamp. Tiny, invisible to casual glances, I sank into my armchair, uneasy yet determined. If Clarissa crossed a line, I would not remain ignorant. Some might question my methods, others might label me paranoid. But I needed evidence. I refused to confront her without clarity. Sunday evening arrived. Clarissa returned, stepping inside with stiff posture. Tension clung to her grin. She set her bag near the entryway, breezed into the kitchen, and offered me a subdued wave. Weekend was relaxing, she announced. We stayed at an inn downtown. Good restaurants, plenty of laughs. She poured lemonade, sipped, and avoided my gaze. I nodded, mustering a calm expression. Something gnawed at my chest, but I withheld my questions. Instead, I asked if she wanted dinner. She shrugged, said she ate with her friends on the way home. I politely retreated to my office. In that space, I blinked at the framed wedding photo. Clarissa's ring sparkled in that picture. My jaw clenched at the memory of that ring stashed in her drawer. I pressed a key on my computer, opening the camera feeds. As soon as the playback started, my stomach twisted. I noticed unfamiliar footwear in the living room at midday. Clarissa's giggles floated through the audio, along with a male voice, a murmur about time alone. Sunday afternoon, hours before she arrived with her official "I'm home" routine. A man stepped into view, not a random stranger, not some coworker I had never met. He was Mitchell from next door, a longtime neighbor. Early 60s, with a broad grin and a salt and pepper mustache. He wore cargo shorts. He pulled her into an embrace. She pressed her lips against his neck. They stumbled toward the couch, hungry for each other. The camera captured enough to turn my veins icy. My fists balled. Mitchell, someone who borrowed my lawnmower, someone who laughed with me about sports teams, someone I once trusted. He and Clarissa exchanged moans and whispers. She sank onto the cushions. He crawled over her, hands roaming. My pulse hammered so loudly I barely registered the ongoing scene. After a few minutes, their conversation resumed in hushed, intimate tones. He teased her about our secret. She giggled, mentioned something about me working out at the gym. They parted around midday. She lingered alone, tidied up a bit, and presumably left the house, returning a few hours later with her triumphant "I'm home" greeting. Tremors rippled from my shoulders to my fingertips. My wife. My neighbor. The ring left behind. 18 years of marriage, shredded by a midday fling. I exhaled, slow and rugged, while the camera feed ended. My heart hammered, refusing to settle. Enough illusions. Enough naive trust. A wave of anger flooded my senses. I rose from my chair, paced the office. My mind reeled. Confrontation or strategy? A direct assault on Mitchell's door, or a silent, cunning plan to bury them under the weight of their own deceit? I scanned the framed wedding photo once more, remembering how Clarissa once gazed at me. 18 years vanished in an instant. I had zero intention of rolling over. This transgression demanded payback. Morning rays sliced through the blinds in my office. I paced the floor, wrestling with furious energy. Evidence glowed on my computer screen, a living testament of Clarissa's disloyalty. A memory of her rummaging for that ring a few months earlier surfaced. She once whispered, "I never take it off." Lies. Each recollection of her vow burned in my gut. She had gone about business as usual, humming a random tune in the kitchen, slicing fruit for breakfast. I stood in the doorway. My breath came in shallow bursts as I recalled the footage. Her brass straps, loose around her arms while Mitchell pinned her. The memory of her moans produced a savage swirl in my chest. Rage roared inside, savage and raw. I pictured smashing a fist into Mitchell's jaw. Then, I pictured stepping away from such brute force, because he would expect direct retaliation. A better route involved cunning. Clarissa tossed me a greeting. I glared at her. She paused, a slice of apple halfway to her lips. "Something wrong," she said. Her tone played polite, but a flicker in her eyes suggested she sensed a shift. My voice emerged low and cold. "Sleep well." She nodded, stared at my clenched fists. I willed myself to remain calm. Confrontation at that moment would serve no purpose. She shrugged, turned away, nibbling her fruit. "Got lots of grading to do," she added. She vanished upstairs. I retreated to my office, shutting the door. Strategy time. A confrontation might provoke denial or tears. I wanted a thorough takedown. My professional expertise specialized in finance, unscrupulous deals, and hidden transactions. Mitchell had a reputation on our street. Retired accountant who dabbed in side gigs. He once bragged about hush money scenarios involving some local business owners. A man with skeletons in his closet, no doubt. I rummaged through my files. Our homeowner association kept records of who paid dues and who might be behind on payments. Sure enough, Mitchell had warnings from the HOA for late fees that indicated a possible financial pinch. Next, I dug deeper online, investigating court documents. My heart pounded from vengeful adrenaline. If I uncovered a bigger web of shady dealings, I could sink him publicly. Meanwhile, an alternate plan formed in my mind. Leak Clarissa's affair to the entire neighborhood. A humiliating end for them both. But something inside me wanted more precise devastation. Something final. The phone rang. It was Henry, a longtime buddy from my college days. Henry's name does not appear on the prohibited list. He spoke quickly. "Ron, you up for golf next Sunday? Heard the weather's perfect." My voice tightened. "Henry, I have no time for that." Something huge at home. Silence. Then a cautious need to talk. I paused, considered explaining everything. Instead, I muttered, "I have a matter that requires focus. Let's meet another day." I ended the call. No interest in hearing any cheery banter. Not while my marriage lay in ruins. A sudden impulse drew me from the office toward the living room. Clarissa's perfume lingered in the air, faint and floral. I stared at the couch, that same spot where she surrendered to Mitchell's arms. My hand clenched the cushion. Anger boiled. I exhaled. Silence hung over the house. She was upstairs, grating. I pictured running upstairs, yanking her laptop away, and demanding an explanation. Instead, I walked out the front door, ignoring her presence. The day shimmered bright, but my mood loomed dark. I stood on the porch, scanning the street. Mitchell's white pickup rested in his driveway. I nearly stomped across the pavement to confront him. Then I paused, remembering the best approach might be subtle. Let him remain unaware I'd discovered anything. That approach would grant me an advantage. Summoning composure, I stepped toward the mailbox, fidgeted with the letters inside, and returned indoors. Clarissa came downstairs and spotted me in the hallway. "Ron, I wanted to mention a possible workshop out of state next month. Might be gone a few days." Her voice sounded eager, as if fishing for permission. My jaw locked. She planned more escapes, presumably to indulge in side affairs. "We can discuss it later," I said, measuring each syllable. She blinked, probably noticing my glacial stare. She nodded, turned away. An hour later, I found myself in the car, driving around the neighborhood. My mind needed space to swirl with schemes. Houses in our suburb tended to mirror each other. Brick facades, neatly trimmed lawns. I rolled past the local park where kids squealed on swings. Everyday life continued for everyone else, free of betrayal. My phone buzzed. A text from Clarissa. "Need groceries." I ignored it, parked near a small cafe, and ordered black coffee to gather my thoughts. Replaying that footage scorched my mind. Their bodies entwined, their gasps of ecstasy. A part of me roared, kick in his door, smash his smug grin. Another part demanded clever vengeance, make them squirm. Observing them scramble to salvage their reputations would provide grim satisfaction. And after I dismantled them, I would deliver divorce papers. Clarissa deserved no illusions of forgiveness. I returned home before dusk. Clarissa greeted me from the kitchen, a tray of grilled chicken on the counter. "Cooked for us," she said. Her attempt at normalcy sickened me. I replied with a monotone thanks, while removing my shoes. She asked, "Busy day?" I forced a nod. My chest felt tight with unspent fury. She served plates, tried to spark a conversation about work. I responded with single words. She gave me curious glances, chewing slowly. Tension ballooned in the air. After we ate, Clarissa rose, placed her plate in the sink, and lingered. "Ron, are you upset over something?" "You're quiet." My gaze drifted to the clock. Each second hammered in my ears. I replied, "I have many tasks on my mind." "I'm fine." She half smiled, uncertain. Her eyes flicked over my tense posture. "Well, I'm here if you need to talk." She left for the living room. Rage threatened to burst free. That concern from her sounded so hollow. My fists trembled. A swirl of images flashed. Her ringless hand, lingerie receipts, that recording. My blood simmered, but I kept my composure. She would not rob me of the final move. Midnight found me in my office, watching the camera feeds again. Bile rose in my throat at the replay of them on the couch. I slammed my fist on the desk, feeling a bolt of pain surge through my knuckles. A torrent of curses poured from my mouth. I seized my phone, recorded a snippet of the affair as a separate file, enough to prove the truth to anyone who doubted. Let them watch in horror. Let them see Clarissa betray her vows. I forced my breathing to slow, remembering my training in methodical analysis. Rushed decisions lead to sloppy outcomes. I wanted a perfect strike. By leveraging my financial background, I could track Mitchell's accounts or prior hush money stunts, possibly blackmail him. Meanwhile, Clarissa's job hinged on her pristine image. A school teacher caught sleeping with a married neighbor might face consequences if scandal spread to parents or administrators. A bitter grin crossed my face. So many angles. So many ways to watch them topple. I believed in justice, once upon a time. After seeing my wife's treachery with that man, my sense of justice twisted into something fierce and personal. I switched the camera feed off, deciding on a plan. In the morning, I would approach a contact at the county registrar's office, gather data on Mitchell's property dealings. Meanwhile, I'd store the incriminating video on multiple drives, safe from sabotage. Let them remain clueless, carrying on like stealthy lovers. Before long, I would expose everything, leaving them powerless to control the fallout. I closed my eyes, but images of Clarissa's sweat-glistened skin teased my mind. My muscles flexed with fury. Their betrayal cut deeper than any heartbreak I ever imagined. Still, I refused to weep or beg. My path forward involved cunning and aggression. My final outcome would make them regret crossing me. Morning drifted in, bringing a swirl of possibilities. Clarissa departed for work around 7, wearing a crisp blouse and a hollow smile. She tossed a casual "have a great day" over her shoulder. I stood near the window, scowling as she climbed into her car. She drove away, unaware that her elaborate lie was in jeopardy. I stormed upstairs to gather evidence. The bedroom remained tidy, bed made with military precision. I ransacked her drawers, searching for more clues. A swirl of sweet perfume hovered among her clothes. My phone chimed. An email alert for a client consultation. I pivoted from the rummaging. Read the subject line. Financial risk assessment meeting. 9:30 am. My professional obligations demanded attention. Though my mind fixated on the scandal brewing at home, I pulled on a blazer, grabbed my laptop, and sped off to my downtown office. Work provided a momentary distraction from the rage roiling inside. Traffic crept along. Each red light fueled my impatience. I found a spot in the company garage, hurried to my floor, and greeted the receptionist with a stiff nod. In the conference room, I forced myself to focus on spreadsheets for a medical technology client. Our discussion ran 90 minutes. I led them through cost-benefit analyses, potential investment returns, and the possibility of a future partnership. My voice sounded firm and polished, as though the personal chaos swirling inside me didn't exist. Once the meeting ended, I excused myself from lunch invitations. I had urgent business to handle. I drove straight to the county registrar's office. A friend named Vincent worked in records. We bonded years ago over shared interests in financial forensics. Vincent greeted me from behind a cluttered desk. "Ron, this is a surprise," he said. "Need something specific?" I leaned forward. "Pull up Mitchell Pool, address on Maplewood Lane." Vincent squinted at his computer. "Sure. Searching. He owns one property here, purchased years ago. No lions on record." I pressed my lips tight. No immediate leverage. Check court filings or other holdings under his name. Vincent tapped keys. Nothing beyond routine tax payments. "Sorry, buddy." My stomach clenched, disappointed. I pressed for more. "What about legal disputes or business licenses?" Vincent scrolled further. "No active lawsuits. He's not listed on local business registries. Only standard retirement forms." I thanked him, leaving with minimal intelligence. Mitchell's official records looked squeaky clean. Hard to believe a man who boasted about hush money deals left zero footprints. Possibly everything he did was off the books. I returned to my car, mulling a next move. The simplest path might be direct confrontation, but I refused to tip my hand early. An alternative plan formed. Present the affair to the homeowner association leadership. They might have guidelines about neighbors engaged in scandalous conduct, or I could approach parents at Clarissa's school with evidence. That approach felt too nuclear at once. I wanted a slow burn, a method that pressed them into panic before the final blow. Late afternoon, I swung by a local diner, grabbed a sandwich, chewed methodically, mind buzzing with potential tactics. My phone vibrated. Another text from Clarissa. "Heading home soon." Her forced normalcy strangled me. I typed no reply. My appetite vanished. I paid for the sandwich and left it half-eaten. Back home, I checked the cameras from earlier in the day. One clip showed Clarissa entering around noon, alone. Perhaps her lunch break allowed a quick pit stop. She rummaged in the fridge, scrolled through her phone. Left after 10 minutes. No sign of Mitchell. My teeth clenched anyway. Evening arrived. Clarissa cooked pasta with a tomato sauce. The aroma might have tempted me on a normal day, but I bristled at the memory of her moaning under Mitchell. I swallowed my disgust long enough to sit at the table. She twirled noodles on her fork, glancing at me. "You're distant," she said. "Work stress?" I nodded, silent. Her hand moved to rest on mine. I yanked my hand away. She frowned but said nothing. The tension pressed upon us. After dinner, she retreated to the sofa with lesson plans. I cleared the plates, though my mind reeled with illusions of them, tangled in this room. I hovered near the sink, washing dishes with forceful scrubs. Water splashed over my clothes, but I kept scrubbing, seething inside. Over by the sofa, Clarissa typed on her laptop. The domestic tableau might appear ordinary to an outsider, but waves of betrayal colored every breath. I dried my hands, stepped into the living room. "How's your workshop research?" I asked in a clipped tone. She brightened slightly, explaining that the workshop involved advanced teaching methods. She said it might provide fresh resources for her classroom. My eyes flicked around, scanning for signs of deception. My voice emerged blunt. "When do you plan to leave?" She typed a moment, then gave a vague answer. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Alarm bells rang in my head. Another secret rendezvous. Possibly with Mitchell at some out-of-town hotel. I inhaled. "Calm yourself, Ron." I pictured my next steps. Expose them. Ruin them. Divorce her. Move on with my life. She studied my expression and ventured a gentle question. "Are you upset over something? We can talk, right?" I stared at her left hand, noticing she wore the ring again. My stomach twisted at the sight of that ring, previously hidden in her drawer. I forced a shrug. "We can discuss it later," I said, turning away. Her mouth opened as though to speak, but she remained silent. She must have sensed an undercurrent of menace in my voice. That night, a text pinged on Clarissa's phone while she showered. I spotted her device vibrating on the coffee table. My heart hammered. I snatched it. The screen displayed a message from MP. "I can't get our afternoon out of my head. Must see you." A jolt of fury seized my spine. She stepped out of the bathroom moments later, hair damp, wearing a long robe. I slid the phone back onto the table, my eyes on her. She froze, noticing me near the device. Suspicion flickered in her expression. She parted her lips, about to say something, but I walked off without a word. Returning to my office, I latched the door, pulling out a small notebook to scribble ideas. 1. Threaten Mitchell with public exposure. 2. Inform Clarissa's principal about her misconduct. 3. Gather more footage as leverage. I wanted them caged like cornered rodents, squealing for mercy. My breath emerged in ragged bursts. My reflection in the dark computer monitor revealed a man consumed by vengeance. Days passed in a tense dance. Clarissa tiptoed around me. Mitchell avoided direct contact, though occasionally I spotted him mowing his lawn. My blood boiled each time. I toyed with confronting him at the fence, but caution prevailed. Let them stew. Let them carry on, oblivious to my plan. I recorded each phone call, each suspicious midday visit, each half-whispered giggle. Soon, I possessed a digital arsenal of incriminating proof. Meanwhile, an unexpected factor emerged. A different neighbor, Ms. Janet, who lived 2 houses down. She phoned me one evening. "Ron, not sure how to say this, but I saw Clarissa meeting Mitchell in your driveway. Something looks fishy." My pulse throbbed. Ms. Janet had a reputation as a gossip, though her voice sounded genuinely concerned. I forced a mild response. "I appreciate the heads up." She pressed further. "Wanted to mention it, in case you're being misled." I thanked her, ended the call. Another threat to Clarissa and Mitchell's hush-hush game. If Ms. Janet turned talkative, the entire block might soon buzz with rumors. Instead of feeling alarmed, I welcomed it. Let the rumor mill churn. Let them squirm as whispers spread. Let them question who might discover the truth next. My plan advanced. Step by step, I inched toward my final blow. A scorching Saturday arrived. The sun beamed over tidy lawns and polished cars. Clarissa had claimed an errand run for classroom supplies. She set off midday, leaving me alone with my schemes. My phone buzzed. "Ms. Janet again." "Ron, more developments," she whispered. "I saw them heading inside your house." My pulse kicked. Inside. Now, she confirmed. They had walked in not 5 minutes earlier, Clarissa unlocking the door for Mitchell. My blood ignited. Perfect. My cameras would capture fresh evidence. I pounced into my car and sped home from the hardware store, tires squealing. I pulled into the driveway, heart hammering. The living room curtains remained drawn, but I detected faint movement behind them. I crept along the side of the house, peering through the gap. Sure enough, there they were. Clarissa pinned to the couch, Mitchell pressed against her, her shirt unbuttoned, his hands roaming. My vision tinted red. I nearly stormed inside to rage. Instead, I forced my breath to steady. Let them indulge their filthy union. Let me have extra proof. 2 minutes later, my mind refused to wait. I jammed my key into the lock, flung the door open, barged into the living room. They scrambled upright, wide-eyed, shirts half off. Mitchell's face paled. Clarissa gasped, fumbling to close her blouse. Sweat coated their skin. Mitchell's voice emerged shaky. "Ron, this isn't what." I cut him off with a raised hand. Silence reigned, thick with tension. Clarissa rose, chest heaving. "Ron, we." She stammered, no words forming. My lips twisted into a sneer. "Lies come easy to you, apparently." I glared at Mitchell. "Get out of my house, or I will drag you out." He grabbed his shoes, tripped over the coffee table, and bolted for the front door. Clarissa hovered near the couch, trembling, refusing to meet my gaze. The air crackled with my fury. She parted her lips again, whispering, "I'm sorry." I barked a bitter laugh, stepping closer. "You're sorry? After how many times?" Her eyes brimmed with terror. She tried to speak, but her voice deserted her. I aimed a stiff finger at the door. "Go follow your precious Mitchell. Get out." She flinched, scrambled to gather her purse, and fled, leaving me alone in the wreckage. I sank onto the couch, chest throbbing. A swirl of satisfaction battled a tidal wave of pain. They lay exposed now. No more sneaking. No more illusions. My phone buzzed with Ms. Janet's number, but I ignored it. The house felt stifling. My temples throbbed. I needed air, so I burst outside, seeking the intense sunshine. Mitchell stood on his porch next door, shirt inside out. He locked eyes with me. I stormed across the grass, fists balled. He lifted his hands, defensive. "Ron, wait. I never wanted things to go this way." The memory of him pawing Clarissa's body spurred me on. "You think I care what you wanted?" I snarled. "You crawl around with my wife in my house on my couch. Did you imagine I'd ignore it?" His jaw trembled. "We grew close. She said your marriage." He paused. "She insisted you two drifted apart." I barked. "Your excuses reek." My fists ached to break his nose. Instead, I stepped closer, voice low. "I have hours of footage. If you continue living here, you'll regret it." A flicker of alarm sparked in his eyes. Footage. He realized the scale of my plan. I swung around, marched across the driveway, slammed my front door. A primal roar tore from my throat. My wife, my neighbor, my perfect suburban life, shattered. My body shook with adrenaline. The rest of the day unfolded in a haze. Clarissa texted me repeatedly, pleading. "We should talk," she wrote. I flung the phone aside. By evening, I forced myself to watch every recorded angle from that day's encounter. The camera caught them from the moment Clarissa unlocked the door. They kissed, parted for breath, joked about me, never suspecting. My face burned. They stripped garments, giddy and desperate. The audio captured moans of pleasure. I shut it off, sick to my core. I typed up an email to Clarissa's principal, addressed as confidential. My finger hovered over send. I pictured her career crumbling. The student gossip, the shame. I closed the draft without sending. Maybe not yet. Another part of me yearned to handle it differently. Wider exposure, maybe posted in an anonymous forum. My grin turned harsh. Let them face the full brunt of public humiliation. A pounding on my front door broke my thoughts. Through the peephole, I saw Clarissa. I swung the door open, face ice cold. She stepped in, tears streaking her cheeks. "Ron, please," she whispered, voice shaking. "Let me explain." I folded my arms. "Explain?" I watched it happen. She wiped her tears, but they kept streaming. Her words sputtered. I felt neglected, alone. We never talk. Mitchell gave me attention. I never planned to. My gaze turned murderous. You never planned to keep your vows either, apparently. She flinched, hugging herself. I wanted excitement, she mumbled. I lost that spark with you. She paused, searching my expression. My jaw tensed so hard my teeth threatened to crack. I let out a short bark of laughter. So you sabotage 18 years because you crave excitement. She clutched my arm, tried to meet my eyes. I'm sorry. I backed away, raising a palm. Don't utter sweet illusions. My trust died the moment you spread yourself on our couch with him. Her sobbing intensified. She sank onto a chair, face hidden behind trembling fingers. My heart hammered, but pity never surfaced. Only a bruised sense of betrayal. You need to leave, I said, voice calm as a judge's gavel. I'll hire an attorney. We're done. She raised her face, tears pooling on her chin. Ron, please, can't we fix this? My glare said everything. No, pack your things. I'll let you stay a few days until we finalize details. She pressed her lips together, nodding. She rose on unsteady legs, trudged upstairs. Her footsteps dragged overhead for an hour as she gathered clothing and essentials. I sat in the living room, arms crossed, mind swirling with plans. Divorce, yes. But I wouldn't stop there. Mitchell deserved destruction too. Later, Clarissa descended with 2 suitcases, hair messy, eyes swollen. She paused by the doorway, voice trembling. I never stopped caring about you. I stared past her, unmoved. Without another word, she left. The door closed. Silence enwrapped me. A final whiff of her perfume hung in the air, sweet and mocking. In the hush that followed, I advanced to my office. My laptop glowed in the dim light. I created multiple copies of every incriminating video, storing them on a secure drive. Next, I composed an anonymous email to the Homeowner Association Board. Subject: Adulterous conduct involving Mitchell Poole. I attached snippets of the footage. The association frowned upon scandal that tarnishes the neighborhood's reputation. This step would nudge them to investigate. Next, I prepared messages for local social groups. Meanwhile, I waited for the perfect moment to drop the final bomb, revealing her betrayal to her employer. Midnight approached. I sank into my chair, tension thrumming under my skin. My ring finger felt oddly heavy. I fidgeted with my own wedding band, yanked it off, and slammed it onto the desk. That circle of metal once symbolized unity. Now it only reminded me of betrayal. I grabbed a glass, poured whiskey, sipped slowly. My mind reeled with savage satisfaction at the chaos to come. Days turned into a whirlwind of fallout. Clarissa moved in with her cousin. Mitchell tried to keep a low profile. Word spread anyway. Ms. Janet cornered me one morning, voice full of empathy. People suspect something big happened. I offered a nod. She pressed. Are you okay? I exhaled. I'm handling it. Her eyes flickered with curiosity. She realized I was in no mood to share more. She accepted that and departed. Meanwhile, the Homeowner Association erupted. My anonymous email arrived with the explosive video clips attached. The board convened to discuss behavior detrimental to community standards. The entire street buzzed with speculation. Mitchell retreated indoors, curtains drawn, phone going unanswered. He must have realized I orchestrated a targeted storm. My private mission had only begun. Clarissa's principal phoned me out of the blue. Mr. Adams, can we talk about your wife? I recognized the voice instantly. My pulse sped. Possibly Clarissa attempted to salvage her job by preemptively explaining the fiasco. I decided to press forward, so I responded, I will come by soon. I hopped in my car, drove to the school, rehearsing lines in my head. My wife was an educator, entrusted with shaping young minds, yet she carried on a midday fling in her own house. Let them question her character. The principal, Ms. Clayton, met me in her cramped office. She sipped water, face tense. Clarissa is on personal leave. She mentioned marital difficulties. Can you provide any insight? I stared at a potted fern on her desk. Then I locked eyes with Ms. Clayton. Yes, we're divorcing. She engaged in repeated adultery with a neighbor. Ms. Clayton blinked, speechless. I produced a thumb drive. Here's evidence for context. I'm not telling you how to run your school, but clarifying why this might cause disruptions. She shifted uncomfortably. I understand. We prefer to keep personal matters private, but if it impacts staff morale or community trust, it's relevant. She accepted the thumb drive with trembling fingers. Thank you for sharing. A cold wave of triumph washed over me, imagining how Clarissa's professional life might unravel. Possibly the school board would investigate. Possibly she'd face disciplinary actions, or at least a tarnished reputation. I nodded, left Ms. Clayton's office, and inhaled the crisp outside air. The next step loomed. Finalizing the divorce. I met with a divorce attorney recommended by a colleague. Ms. Porter specialized in high-conflict cases. She wore a sleek pantsuit and carried an aura of unwavering focus. We discussed assets, the house, my retirement accounts, Clarissa's pension. Ms. Porter outlined a plan to expedite the process by citing adultery. She requested any proof to strengthen my case. I slid a folder across her desk. Video evidence, phone records, text messages. Ms. Porter nodded. I'll draft the petition. We'll serve her soon. One evening, Clarissa rang my phone, sobbing again. Ron, can we talk about us? She tried to angle for reconciliation. I delivered an icy response. Us no longer exists. Move forward with the legal path. She pleaded. I never wanted to break everything. My heart panged with old memories, but fury triumphed. You broke it anyway. I ended the call. Across the street, Mitchell's house grew quiet. Curtains drawn, car rarely left the driveway. Meanwhile, the homeowner association circulated letters hinting at possible disciplinary action. The local rumor mill churned. I heard whispers that Mitchell might list his house for sale, hoping to flee the humiliation. Good. Let him vanish. Let him cower. His betrayal earned him this. A week later, Miss Porter confirmed that Clarissa received the divorce papers. She apparently offered no protest. Possibly she realized how dire her position looked. My phone rang that afternoon. The number belonged to Mitchell. I answered, voice laced with contempt. Speak. He cleared his throat, stuttering. I wanted to apologize. I snorted. Apologize for what? The couch. The months of secret encounters. The lies to my face while you borrowed my stuff. He stammered. I never intended to hurt you. Clarissa said she felt lonely. I barked. Don't mention her again. You messed with the wrong man. Silence stretched. He finally said, I'm leaving. House goes on the market soon. I can't stay here. My tone dropped an octave. Good luck finding peace. He hung up. I pictured him scurrying around, packing boxes. Another wave of savage satisfaction coiled through me. He faced the shame of being the adulterous neighbor. Clarissa faced the possible collapse of her teaching career. My vengeance took shape in the real world, piece by piece. That night, I burned with restless energy, pacing the empty living room. The couch, that vile piece of furniture, stood as a reminder of betrayal. I considered hauling it onto the curb. Instead, I poured whiskey again, pondering how my life had transformed within weeks. 18 years of marriage, undone by her hunger for excitement. I hovered near the old wedding photo, picking it up. Our younger faces smiled at me from the glass. The memory tasted rancid now. I drove to a park by the river, alone in the dark. The current churned softly. I rolled down the window, inhaled the crisp air. My reflection in the car mirror revealed an aging man, eyes carrying betrayal. My pulse slowed. For a moment, regret flickered. Could I have salvaged anything if I'd confronted her sooner? Possibly not. My pride demanded retribution. She had earned every ounce of my wrath. A letter arrived from Clarissa's attorney, requesting an amicable meeting to discuss property division. Ms. Porter and I attended, meeting Clarissa and her lawyer in a sterile conference room. Clarissa wore subdued colors, face drawn. She spoke in a hushed voice, surrendering the house to me, requesting a portion of our savings. I granted her a fraction, determined to finalize matters quickly. We signed documents. She lingered afterward, eyes brimming. "Ron, I'm sorry. I'll always be sorry." I stared at her without warmth. "You made your choice." Ms. Porter tapped my shoulder, hinting we should leave. Several days later, social media lit up with rumors about Mitchell's impending departure. Another post revealed Clarissa's indefinite leave from the school. Some acquaintances messaged me privately, perplexed. I offered no details. The videos would not become casual gossip. They served a purpose already. The house felt emptier with Clarissa gone, but also calmer. My migraines subsided. I stood taller, no longer fighting illusions. One morning, Ms. Janet knocked on my door with a casserole dish in hand. "For you," she said, sympathy in her eyes. I thanked her, letting her step inside. She gazed around. "Strange to see the place so quiet," she murmured. I motioned for her to set the dish on the table. "I prefer it quiet now," I replied. She offered a half smile. "Folks around here talk, but I won't pry." I nodded. "I appreciate it." She left without further prying. The dish warmed my kitchen with the aroma of homemade kindness. Surprising how adversity reveals friendly gestures from unexpected corners. Days rolled by. The divorce proceeded swiftly. Clarissa and I no longer spoke except through attorneys or brief text instructions. Mitchell's home listing popped up online, indicating a sale was pending. He disappeared from the block soon after. The homeowner association frowned upon the scandal, ensuring he parted ways with minimal fanfare. I never glimpsed him again. The retribution felt thorough. I destroyed their affair, upended their sense of security, forced them from my life. Standing in the empty living room one evening, I exhaled a long breath. The ring I once wore lay in a drawer, collecting dust. My reflection in the TV screen displayed a man free from illusions. I acknowledged a pang of sorrow over losing the marriage. Yet I refused to regret my final stance. Betrayal warrants consequences. I stepped outside, scanning the quiet suburban street. Sunset glowed across the rooftops. Once upon a time, Clarissa and I walked hand in hand here, greeting neighbors, planning a future. That future dissolved. Now, a new chapter beckoned, perhaps solitary, perhaps different. The bitterness still cut deep, but part of me sensed a strange release. She and Mitchell reaped their karmic price. My life would continue with a fresh perspective. My footsteps echoed on the driveway as I gazed at the place next door, where Mitchell once resided. The porch light remained off. No signs of life. I recalled my old vow to protect my family. I protected my dignity instead. I chose not to yield to heartbreak. I harnessed anger and used it against them. Standing tall, I permitted myself a thin, grim smile. This was the end of one path, the start of another. No illusions, no half-measures. I walked inside, locked my door, and let the darkness envelop me. Tomorrow, I would finalize the last documents, severing Clarissa from my finances, from my bed, from my life. The unstoppable duo is no more. I emerged from the wreckage alone but undefeated, ready to shape my world on my own terms. And that, I suppose, is how revenge glitters, sharp, decisive, and forever altering the ones who dare to provoke it.